The twin suns of the alien empire hung heavy in the sky, burning down on the crowded streets. The markets of the capital city were filled with voices, shouts, and the endless clatter of merchants. But under the noise and the light, one figure moved slowly, painfully through the dust. It was a child, small and frail. His legs were twisted, crippled from birth. Each step was a crawl. Each crawl left marks in the sand. His arms shook as he pulled himself forward, while others walked past him. Some glanced for a moment, then turned away. Some whispered cruel jokes, and others spat near him. In this empire, weakness was shame, weakness was death. The boy had no food. His stomach growled, his mouth was dry. He looked at the stalls of roasted meat, golden bread, and sweet fruit. His alien eyes, large and filled with hunger, followed every bite the merchants sold to the rich. He begged once, his voice small, "Please, just a piece." But the merchant kicked him aside, shouting, "Get away, cripple, you are a curse." The crowd laughed. The boy pressed his face to the dirt, tears mixing with dust from the edge of the market. Another figure watched. He was not alien. His skin was different, his shape strange to them. He was human. He had come to the empire as a worker, a servant, someone who carried heavy loads, someone who was seen as weak, lower than all, yet his eyes were steady. They searched the crowd and then stopped at the boy crawling through the dust. The human frowned. He had seen cruelty before, he had seen hunger. But something inside him tightened as he watched the child struggle. The boy's hands were raw from dragging on stone, his knees bloody. The human took a slow breath and stepped forward. The crowd noticed, their laughter hushed. "Look," someone muttered. "The human is moving toward him," another sneered. "Fool, does he not know the Emperor's law? The weak must be forgotten, helping them is forbidden." But the human did not stop. He walked until he stood above the boy. The child raised his head, dirt smeared across his cheeks. His alien eyes glowed faintly with both fear and hope. The human knelt down. He reached out a hand. His voice was calm. "Can you stand?" The boy shook his head, his voice cracked. "No, my legs. They do not work." The human's hand stayed out, steady. "Then I will help you. Come." Gasps ran through the market. An old alien woman hissed. "He touched the cripple. He touched what was cursed." Another shouted, "The Emperor will hear of this. This is treason." But still the human lifted the boy gently. He carried him to the side where the shade of a broken wall offered relief from the burning suns. The boy clutched his shirt, his voice small. Why do you help me?" "No one helps me, they say I should die." The human looked at him. His voice was simple. "Because you are alive. Because you matter." The boy blinked. His lips trembled. He had never heard such words. He felt heat in his chest, a warmth stronger than hunger, stronger than pain. Around them whispers spread. Some were sharp with anger. "He defies the law." Some were filled with fear. "The Emperor's wrath will burn this human." But a few were quiet, filled with something dangerous. Hope. "Did you see?" The child stood in a human's arms. As if he belonged, the human searched his bag. He found half a loaf of dry bread. He broke it in two, giving the larger piece to the boy. The child bit into it desperately, crumbs falling across his face. His eyes closed as the taste filled his mouth. He whispered, "Thank you." The human smiled faintly, but deep inside he felt the weight of unseen eyes. He could sense it. The Empire always watched. The guards, the merchants, even the shadows. They would remember this moment. They would not forgive it. The crippled child leaned against the wall. Clutching the bread, for the first time he felt more than pain. He felt seen, he felt alive, his heart beat with something new. And in the palace, far away, a message had already begun to travel. Whispers carried through soldiers and spies, racing toward the golden throne. Words that would change the empire. A human helped the broken one. The suns burned lower, the streets carried on with noise. But in that single corner of the city, silence hung heavy, a silence before the storm, a silence before the emperor's fury shook the empire. Night fell over the empire's capital. The busy streets grew quiet. Shops closed, lamps flickered, and the crowds disappeared. Yet one figure remained restless. The human worker sat in the shadow of his small hut, staring at the broken pieces of wood scattered before him. He had gathered them secretly from the trash of the markets. Broken cartwheels, splinters, and old handles to others. It was useless junk, but to him it was the start of something. He thought of the crippled alien child, his thin arms pulling against the dirt, his hungry eyes, his trembling voice asking, "Why do you help me?" The human's hands moved carefully. He cut, shaped, and tied. His knife was small, his rope was weak, but his will was strong. Every strike of the blade carried meaning. He whispered to himself, "If he cannot walk, then I will give him legs." Hours passed, the city slept, but the human worked. His sweat dripped, his fingers bled from splinters. Yet he smiled softly when the shape finally appeared. Simple, rough but steady, a wooden crutch. The next morning, the crippled child crawled through the streets again. His bread from yesterday gone, his hunger returned. The people mocked him as always. A group of alien boys threw stones at him, shouting, "Crawl faster, broken one!" The boy curled up, covering his head, his small body shaking. Then a shadow fell across him. The crowd looked up, whispering. The human had returned. He held something in his hands. The boy looked up, confused. His alien eyes widened. The human knelt down. His voice was gentle. "This is for you." He lifted the wooden crutch, placing it beside the child. The boy blinked, not understanding. His voice broke. "What? What is it?" The human smiled faintly. "A way to stand," gasps rushed through the crowd. Merchants abandoned their stalls. Soldiers in armor paused. The crippled child slowly reached for the crutch. His thin fingers wrapped around the wood. He pressed it against the ground. His arms trembled, his body shook. The human steadied him, holding his back step by step. The boy pushed himself up. His knees bent, his chest heaved. His breath caught, then he stood. The market fell silent for the first time. The broken child was not crawling. He was upright, trembling, yes, but standing. His alien eyes filled with tears. He whispered, I can see higher, I can see the world." His words broke every heart that listened. The human's hand remained steady on his shoulder. "Now take a step," he said. The boy leaned on the crutch, his twisted legs dragged, but he moved forward, one step then another. Each small movement echoed louder than any shout. The crowd watched, unable to look away, but not everyone was moved. A merchant hissed, "This is forbidden." Another shouted, "The emperor declared the weak must stay down, helping him is treason." Fear rippled, and the whispers grew sharper. Among the crowd, 2 armored guards stood still, their eyes hidden beneath metal helmets. They watched every movement. One of them murmured, "We must report this." The other nodded. "The emperor will want his name." Yet the boy did not hear them. His laughter rose above the fear. Rough and broken, but real, he held tightly to the crutch. Stumbling forward, "I am standing. Look at me, I am standing." His voice carried across the market. Children stopped. Women covered their mouths. Old men lowered their heads in silence. The human bent slightly, whispering so only the child could hear. "You are not broken. You are alive, remember that." The boy's heart pounded with a new rhythm. He had never felt so tall, so strong for a moment. He believed he could do anything. And for the first time, the people around him began to believe it too. But in the shadows, the guards slipped away, carrying with them words that would travel faster than the wind. A human lifted the cripple. A human made him walk. By evening, the story had spread beyond the market, into taverns, into alleys, into the ears of nobles and soldiers. Some laughed cruelly. A useless act, a broken child is still broken. Others whispered with awe, "Perhaps humans have strength we never saw. Perhaps kindness is power." In the boy's small corner of the city, he sat beside the human, holding the crutch tightly, refusing to let it go even when his arms ached. He stared at the man with wide eyes. "No one has ever done this for me," he whispered. "No one ever cared if I lived or died." The human looked at him, silent for a long moment. Then he answered simply, "I care." The boy felt warmth spread through his chest, a warmth stronger than food, stronger than the sun. He leaned against the wall, whispering, "Then maybe I can still have a future." But beyond the walls, far away in the Golden Palace, a messenger knelt before the emperor's throne. His voice was trembling as he spoke. "My lord, forgive me." But a human, he touched the cripple. He built him legs, he made him walk. The emperor's hand froze in midair, his golden goblet shaking, his voice grew low, deadly. "A human?" The messenger nodded, sweat dripping. "Yes, my emperor." The silence in the throne room was heavy. Then the emperor's roar shook the marble halls. "Find him, bring him before me. Let the empire see what happens when weakness is lifted by human hands." And as his fury spread through the palace, the human sat quietly with the child, unaware that the storm of an empire had already begun to turn toward him. The market had returned to its usual noise, but the memory of what had happened refused to fade. People sold fruit, shouted prices, and bargained like before. Yet in every corner, in every whisper, the same story was told again and again. The human gave the cripple legs. The child stood, the child walked, some spoke with awe. Did you see his eyes? That little one smiled as if he touched the stars. Others spoke with fear. The emperor will not forgive this. It is against the law to help the weak. And some with anger. A human dares to challenge the order? This cannot be allowed. The crippled boy walked clumsily through the streets with his wooden crutch. His steps were uneven, his body shook, but his chin was lifted higher than ever before. Children who once threw stones now stared with wide eyes. Some even tried to copy him, leaning on sticks as if to feel his strength. The human followed close behind, quiet, steady. His eyes watched the streets. His ears caught the whispers. He knew danger was rising. He felt it in the way soldiers lingered too long, in the way merchants lowered their voices when he passed one evening as the sun set. The boy and the human sat on a stone bench near the broken fountain. The boy chewed slowly on a piece of bread the human had bought for him. His alien eyes glowed softly in the fading light. He whispered, "Do you hear them? They talk about me, about us." The human nodded. Yes. Words spread fast, faster than fire in dry grass. The boy frowned, his small hands gripping the crutch tightly. Will the emperor be angry? His voice trembled. He had lived his whole life in fear of the throne, and now he wondered if his small steps had pulled fire down upon him. The human did not answer at first. His face was calm, but his thoughts were heavy. Finally, he said, "Yes, the emperor will hear. But remember this, what you did cannot be undone. You stood, you walked. They cannot erase that." The boy lowered his head, whispering, "But they can erase us." Behind them, in the dark alley, two shadowed figures listened. They wore simple cloaks, their faces hidden. They were not guards, not merchants, they were common people. Yet their eyes burned with something stronger than fear. One whispered to the other, "Did you hear the human's words? He defies the emperor." The other replied, "He is only one man, but maybe one is enough." In taverns that night, whispers grew louder. Some aliens leaned close over mugs of bitter drink. "If a human can lift a cripple, maybe we too can rise," others warned. "Fool, do not speak such things. The emperor's ears are everywhere." But still, the whispers spread by the time the moons rose. The story had already reached beyond the capital, carried by traders, by travelers, by frightened soldiers everywhere it went. The same sentence followed like a shadow. The human gave the broken one legs. In the palace, noble families sat around golden tables, their voices low but sharp. This is dangerous. If people begin to believe in kindness, in hope, the emperor's rule will weaken, another noble hissed. Then the human must be crushed. His example must be destroyed before it grows, but outside the walls of power. In the poor districts, hope was a spark that could not be hidden. A mother who had lost her son whispered to her neighbor, "If the human cares for their broken child, maybe one day someone will care for ours." A starving worker muttered, "Perhaps humans are not weak slaves as we were told." The boy walked again the next morning, his steps shaky, his crutch tapping against the stones. Every sound of wood on rock was louder than a drum in the empire's heart. Children followed him. Men and women stared. Some bowed their heads in shame, realizing they had spat on him before. The guards, however, grew restless. One captain barked, "Enough of this show." The emperor's patience will not last. But even he could not tear his eyes away as the boy lifted his chin proudly and said to the crowd, "Look at me, I am not crawling anymore. A human gave me this strength." The human placed a hand gently on the boy's shoulder, guiding him away before the soldiers grew bold enough to act. His voice was low. "You must be careful the more you walk. The more danger grows." The boy looked up at him, eyes burning. "Then let them come. I will not crawl again." That night, as the city grew silent, shadows moved again. Not common people this time, but soldiers in black armor. They gathered in secret halls. Their commander's voice was cold. "The emperor has been told. His wrath is great. We have our orders. Find the human, bring him alive. Make an example of him." And in that moment the empire changed. The crippled boy slept with his crutch beside him. The human sat awake, watching the window, listening to the footsteps in the distance. He knew what was coming. He could feel the storm moving closer. Step by step, whisper by whisper. The streets outside looked calm, but beneath the calm was fire. For the first time, the Empire was not laughing at the broken. For the first time, it was asking a question dangerous enough to shake the throne itself. The golden palace of the Empire rose like a mountain above the city. Its towers glittered under the twin suns, its walls carved with symbols of power and fear. Inside, the air was heavy, filled with the scent of incense and the echo of footsteps across marble floors. Every hall was guarded, every corner watched. Yet today the silence was broken. A messenger knelt on the cold floor before the throne. His hands shook, his voice weak. "My Emperor, forgive me, but news has spread through the city." He swallowed hard. A human helped the crippled child stand. He gave him legs to walk. The vast throne room grew still. Nobles in silken robes froze. Guards gripped their spears tighter. All eyes turned toward the massive throne at the center, where the Emperor sat. His alien face was carved like stone, his eyes burned gold. His fingers tapped the armrest slowly. A human. His voice was deep, slow, dangerous. "A human lifted what I cast down." The messenger bowed lower, pressing his forehead to the floor. "Yes, my Emperor," the crowd saw it. The story spreads beyond the capital even now. The Emperor rose to his feet, his cloak of crimson silk dragging across the steps. His voice thundered, "Weakness is death. That has always been my law. What I cast aside stays in the dust, and now a human dares to undo it." His words shook the hall. Nobles lowered their heads in fear. None dared speak. Only the sound of his heavy footsteps echoed as he descended from the throne. His shadow fell across the messenger, who trembled like a leaf. The Emperor's hand shot out. Grabbing the man by the neck, he lifted him as if he weighed nothing. His voice roared, "Do you know what this means? If people believe the broken can rise, if they believe humans have power, my empire cracks stone by stone." He threw the messenger down. The man gasped for breath, crawling back in terror. Guards dragged him away as silence returned. The Emperor turned, his cloak swirling, his golden crown glinting in the firelight. He raised his arm high. His command shook the chamber. "Find the human. Bring him before me in chains. Let the Empire watch as I burn his defiance from memory." The order spread like lightning. Soldiers in black armor marched through the city. Their boots thundered against stone. Doors slammed. Windows shuttered. Mothers pulled children inside. Whispers rushed through the streets. "The Emperor is angry. The human is hunted in the poor district." The human sat with the crippled boy. He had known this would come. He saw the fear in the people's eyes. He heard the drums of marching soldiers, yet he remained calm. His hand rested on the boy's shoulder. Steady, the boy's alien eyes were wide. "They are coming, I can hear them. They will take you away." His voice shook with terror. He clutched the wooden crutch tighter. "It is my fault. If I had not stood, they would not hunt you." The human shook his head. "No, it is not your fault. You are not the crime. The crime is their cruelty." He leaned closer, his voice firm. "Never think your life is a mistake." The boy's lips trembled. He whispered, "But what will they do to you?" The human did not answer. His silence said enough. Outside, soldiers tore through alleys, kicking over barrels, striking doors with iron fists. They dragged men and women out, demanding answers. Where is the human? Who hides him? Some pointed in fear. Others stayed silent, refusing to betray. But still the soldiers came closer, step by step. In the palace, the Emperor stood on his balcony, gazing over the city with burning eyes. His voice carried like a storm. "Let all hear me. The weak will not rise, the broken will stay broken, and the human who defies this law will die by my hand." His roar rolled across the city, carried by horns and drums. The Empire trembled beneath it. Some bowed in fear. Others clenched their fists in anger. For the first time, doubt grew in their hearts. That night, the human and the boy hid in the corner of a ruined house. The boy pressed close, whispering, "Why don't you run? Why don't you leave before they find you?" The human looked at him, his eyes steady, his voice low. "Because if I run, they win. If I run, they prove that kindness is weakness. I will not let them take that from me." The boy's heart pounded. He stared at the man in silence, then whispered, "You are not weak. You are stronger than the Emperor." The human said nothing, but his hand rested on the boy's shoulder once more. His calmness was his strength. His silence was louder than any roar. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the city, others whispered too, workers, beggars, mothers, even soldiers. The emperor rages, but the human, he did not bow, he did not run, and with every whisper the empire shook a little more. Far above, in his golden palace, the emperor clenched his fists, his voice dark as thunder. Tomorrow I will have the human, and the empire will see what happens when kindness dares to challenge the throne. The boy slept uneasily. Clutching his crutch, the human remained awake. Staring into the night, he could hear the boots marching closer. He knew the storm was near, and yet in the silence of the dark, one question burned across the empire, whispered in secret, dangerous words that no guard could erase. The suns rose red over the capital. The streets were not filled with life this morning, but with fear. Soldiers in black armor marched in lines, their spears shining, their boots pounding against the stone roads. People hid inside their homes, peeking through cracks in wooden doors, whispering, they are hunting the human. The emperor wants his head in the broken district, where the poor lived among cracked walls and empty wells. The human stood quietly beside the crippled boy. The boy's alien eyes were wide with fear. He clutched the wooden crutch close to his chest as if it could protect him. His voice trembled. They will find us, they will take you away. The human placed a hand on his shoulder, steady and calm. Do not be afraid, he said softly. Whatever happens, you must keep standing. Never crawl again. The boy's lip shook. But I need you without you. I will fall. The human bent low, looking into the child's eyes. You already learned to stand. That strength is yours now. They cannot take it from you. The boy's tears burned. But he nodded, holding the crutch tighter. Outside, the sound of drums grew louder. The soldiers were coming. The ground trembled beneath their march. The poor gathered at corners, some covering their faces, some whispering prayers. The human knew hiding was useless. He straightened his back and waited. His calmness frightened the boy even more because he understood. This man had chosen not to run. The first soldiers appeared at the end of the street, their black armor glinting. Their captain shouted, "There! The human!" Spears lowered, shields raised, they advanced like a wall of iron. The boy screamed, "Run! Please run!" He tried to pull at the man's arm, but the human only shook his head, his voice firm. "No, if I run, they will punish everyone who hides me. I will not bring more pain to the poor." The soldiers stormed forward, kicking aside baskets and breaking doors as they passed. The captain pointed his blade at the human. "By order of the emperor, you are under arrest. Kneel and bind your hands." The crowd gathered at a distance, silent, afraid to come closer. Their eyes wide, hearts pounding, children clung to their mothers. Old men shook their heads, some whispered, "He will die. The emperor will make him suffer." But others whispered something different. "Look at him, he does not kneel. He does not bow." The human stood tall, his eyes calm, his voice steady. "I will not kneel." Gasps spread through the people. The soldiers froze for a moment, surprised by the quiet strength of his words. The captain's face twisted with rage. "Seize him!" Two guards lunged forward, grabbing his arms. They struck him with iron fists, but he did not cry out. They bound his wrists with chains, pulling them tight. The boy screamed, running forward, "No! Leave him! He is not a criminal!" A guard shoved the child back, but the boy fell and rose again, leaning on his crutch. His voice broke through the silence of the street. "He gave me legs. He gave me life. He is stronger than all of you." The crowd stirred, whispers grew louder. A woman muttered, "The child speaks truth." Another hissed, "Quiet, or the soldiers will hear." But still the whisper spread like fire. The captain struck the boy across the face, sending him to the ground. The child's cry echoed through the street. The human's eyes blazed. He struggled against his chains. His voice thundered, "Do not touch him." The soldiers pressed him down, forcing him to his knees, but even in chains, his back was straight, his eyes filled with fire. The captain sneered, "You think you are strong? You are nothing but a slave." The human answered calmly, "If kindness is weakness, then your empire is built on dust." The words cut like a blade. The captain's face twisted with fury. He struck the human across the face with the back of his gauntlet. Blood ran down the man's lip. Yet still he did not bow. The boy crawled to him, clutching his hand through the chains, his voice broken with sobs. "Please, don't take him." The captain ripped the boy away. Throwing him into the dirt, soldiers dragged the human through the street. The crowd pressed closer, but fear held them back. Still their eyes burned, still their whispers grew. One old man whispered to his son, "I have never seen such strength." A woman held her child close and murmured, "Remember this day. Remember the human who did not kneel." The drums thundered louder as the soldiers marched, dragging the chained man toward the palace. The boy limped after them, stumbling on his crutch, shouting with all his breath, "He is not weak. He is stronger than the emperor." The guards shoved him away again. But the words had already spread. People shouted from windows, from alleys, from rooftops, some in anger, some in awe, but all with fire in their voices. The human was thrown onto a wagon, his wrists bleeding against the iron. The boy fell in the dust, reaching out, tears streaming down his face. "Don't leave me." The human looked back, his face bruised, blood on his lip. Yet his eyes were calm. His voice carried like a promise. "Stand tall. Never crawl again." The wagon rolled forward. Soldiers marched beside it. The crowd followed at a distance. Whispers turned to murmurs, murmurs to voices, voices to a low roar. The empire had witnessed something dangerous. A human in chains who still stood taller than any throne. The golden gates of the palace opened wide. Soldiers dragged the chained human inside. His wrists bled from iron cuffs, his face bruised, but his back remained straight. The marble halls echoed with every step of the soldiers' boots. Ahead, the throne room blazed with firelight. Nobles filled the sides, their robes glittering with jewels, their alien eyes sharp and cold. The emperor sat high upon his golden throne, his cloak heavy with crimson silk, his crown gleamed like the sun itself. Around him stood guards in black armor, silent and waiting. Trumpets blasted, and the voice of the herald thundered, "By command of the emperor, the human is brought to trial." The crowd inside roared with anger. Some shouted, "Kill him! Crush the human!" Others whispered, "This is dangerous. Why does he not kneel?" The noise rolled through the chamber like a storm. The human was forced to his knees before the throne. But though the soldiers pushed, his spine stayed straight. His head lifted, his eyes steady. He looked directly at the emperor. The emperor leaned forward, his golden eyes blazing. His voice shook the walls. "You dare to break my law, human? You touched the cripple I cast down. You gave him legs, you lifted weakness against my throne." The chamber fell silent. Every noble leaned forward, waiting for his answer. The human's lips bled, but his voice was calm. "I gave him nothing but the chance to stand. You call it weakness. I call it life." Gasps spread through the chamber. A noble hissed, "He defies the emperor even now." The guards pressed spears closer to his chest, but the man's eyes never wavered. The emperor rose from his throne, his cloak falling like fire behind him. His voice thundered, "Weakness destroys order. My empire stands because I cast aside the broken, and you, human, dare to challenge my law." The human's voice was firm. "Your empire does not stand, it trembles, because you fear even a child who can walk." The nobles cried out in outrage. Some shouted for his death, but others were silent. Their eyes troubled. For the first time, doubt crept into the heart of the court. Suddenly a voice broke through the chaos, small but sharp. "He is not weak. He gave me life." The chamber turned, soldiers froze, nobles gasped. The crippled boy limped into the hall, his wooden crutch clattering against the marble floor. His breath heavy, his body shaking, but his head lifted high. Guards tried to stop him, but he pushed forward. His alien eyes burned with tears and fire. "The human gave me legs. He gave me hope. He is stronger than your throne." The hall erupted. Nobles cried out, "Silence the child." Guards moved to seize him, but the boy shouted louder, his voice breaking, "Look at me. I walked into your throne room. I am not crawling anymore." For a moment, the emperor's eyes widened. Rage burned across his face. He raised his hand, his voice like thunder. "Enough! This trial is over. This human will die." The guards seized the man, dragging him back. Spears pressed against his chest. The boy screamed, "No! Please, he saved me."
"He is not guilty!"
He tried to run to him, but soldiers shoved him aside. The emperor's voice boomed, "Take him to the execution ground. Let all see what happens when a human defies the throne." The human did not resist. His eyes found the boy across the hall, his voice calm even as chains pulled tight. "Stand tall, do not bow." "Not even here." The boy fell to his knees, sobbing. "They will kill you." The human's gaze was steady. "Then remember me, not for my death, but for the day you stood," the nobles whispered. Some in fear, some in awe. "He speaks like a king," one muttered. "Even in chains," another shook his head. "This is dangerous. If people hear this, they will rise." The emperor's fury shook the chamber. He raised his arm high. Tomorrow his blood will stain the stones, and the empire will remember my strength. The guards dragged the human away. The boy screamed, reaching out, but was held back, his voice cracked with pain. Please don't take him. The human turned one last time before disappearing through the golden doors. His words cut through the air like fire. Kindness is stronger than your throne. The chamber trembled with whispers, some of fear, some of hope. The emperor sank back into his throne, but his eyes burned. For even as he gave the order of death, he felt it. The empire had shifted. The nobles were no longer laughing, the guards no longer certain, and outside in the city streets the whispers had grown into something far more dangerous. The people were no longer afraid to ask the forbidden question. The morning came with heavy drums. Their sound rolled across the capital like thunder. People were ordered to gather in the great square before the palace. Soldiers filled the streets, their black armor glinting, banners of crimson snapping in the wind. The air was thick with fear. At the center of the square stood a tall stone platform. Stained with the memory of countless executions, the human was dragged there in chains, his clothes torn, his face bruised, but his back straight, his eyes calm, his silence heavier than the soldiers' shouts. The crippled boy pushed through the crowd, stumbling on his crutch, his small frame nearly crushed by the ocean of bodies. He gasped for breath, his legs weak but his will stronger than ever. I must reach him, he whispered to himself. He cannot face this alone. The emperor appeared on the high balcony above. His cloak flowed behind him, his golden crown shining in the morning light. His voice roared over the square. Look well, people of my empire. This is the fate of defiance. A human dared to challenge my law, dared to lift weakness against me. Today his blood will wash away hope. The crowd lowered their heads in silence. Afraid mothers covered their children's eyes. Old men muttered prayers. Nobles sneered from their golden seats. But in the sea of silence, the boy's voice suddenly broke through. He is not weak. He gave me life. All eyes turned. The boy stood near the front, his crutch shaking in his hand. His alien eyes burned with tears. His voice cracked but carried across the square. You call him a slave, but he gave me legs to stand. You call him weak, but he is stronger than you, Emperor. Gasps filled the crowd. The Emperor's face twisted with rage. Silence the child, he roared. Guards rushed forward, but the boy raised his crutch high, shouting with every breath in his chest, I stand because of him, and I will not bow to you. The human looked at the boy, even in chains. His lips curved into the faintest smile, his voice calm but clear. Stand tall. The guard struck the boy down, pushing him to the stones, but instead of crawling, he rose again, his crutch tapping against the ground. His small voice shook, yet carried like a blade. If you kill him, you kill hope itself. The crowd stirred, whispers spread. Some repeated his words. Others clenched their fists. For the first time, voices rose against silence. The emperor's roar shook the square. Enough! Execute him now! The executioner raised his blade. The crowd held its breath. Soldiers tightened their grip. But before the strike could fall, a sound rose, louder than drums. Stronger than fear, it was the crowd. Hundreds of voices crying out together, no, no. The executioner froze, his hands shook. The emperor's eyes widened, he shouted again, do it, obey me! But the roar of the people drowned his command. From the back, a woman shouted, he gave the boy life! A man cried, he is stronger than your throne. Children pointed to the human, their small voices chanting, stand tall, stand tall! The human closed his eyes, his heart heavy but full. He had not wanted this moment, but now he saw it clearly. The empire itself was trembling. The boy dragged himself forward, reaching the steps of the platform. His crutch clattered, his knees bled, but he stood before the soldiers. His arms spread wide. If you kill him, you must kill me too. The executioner's blade wavered. Soldiers shifted. Doubt flickered in their alien eyes. The emperor's roar cracked like thunder. Cowards! Obey your emperor. But no strike fell. No soldier moved. Their hands shook. Their eyes fell. For in the human silence and the boy's defiance, they saw something greater than the emperor's wrath. The people began to kneel. Not toward the throne, but toward the chained man standing tall. One by one, row by row, they bowed their heads before him. A wave of defiance disguised as surrender. A rebellion born in silence. The emperor's face burned with fury. He slammed his fist against the railing. His voice broke into madness. You will all suffer for this. I am your law. I am your life. But the words fell empty, drowned beneath the chant of the people rising like fire. Human, human, human! The guards could no longer hold him. The executioner dropped his blade. The chains on the human's wrists rattled. Yet somehow he stood taller than any king. His eyes turned toward the boy. His voice steady. This is your victory, not mine, remember? Never crawl again. The boy's tears fell. But his chin was high, he whispered. I will never bow, not to him, not to anyone. The emperor watched as his empire bent not to him but to a human in chains. His fury shook the palace walls, his scream split the air. But it was too late, the throne had cracked. Not from war, not from armies, but from kindness, and across the galaxy. Whispers carried faster than soldiers could march, whispers that would outlive the emperor's roar. A human stood. A child walked, and the empire trembled.